Now let's solve the cssgridgarden.com game. So welcome to the grid garden where you write CSS code to grow your carrot garden. Water only the areas that have carrots by using the grid column start property. For example, grid column start 3 will water the area starting at the third vertical grid line, which is another way of saying third vertical border from the left in the grid. Third vertical border from the left in the grid. So grid hyphen column hyphen start 3. Next. Looks like weeds are growing in the corner of your garden. Use grid column start to poison them. Note that the weeds start at the fifth vertical grid line. Fifth vertical grid line. Grid column start. Grid hyphen column hyphen start. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When the grid column start is used alone, the grid item by default will span exactly one column. When the grid column start is used alone, the grid item will by default span exactly one column. Okay. However, you can extend the item across multiple columns by adding grid column end property. So grid column end. So these carrots ended the 1, 2, 3, 4. So the fourth border, but let's see the column end 3. It should be 4. When pairing grid column start and grid column end, you might assume that the end value has to be greater than the start value, but this turns out not the case. Try setting grid column end to a value less than 5 to water your carrots. Okay, grid hyphen column end. So here grid column start is 5. Has been started from 5 ends to 1 here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The column starts with 5. Oh, okay, it starts with 5 and should end with, here it is 1 and here it is 2. This is 2. So let me see 2. Super. If you want to count grid lines from the right instead of left, you can give grid column start, grid column and negative values. For example, you can set it to -1 to specify the first grid line from the right. First grid line from the light, right? Okay, so grid icon column icon end to -1. If you want to count grid lines from the right side instead of left, you can give grid column start and grid column end negative values. For example, you can set it to -1 to specify the first grid line from the right. Okay, so -1. It's -1, then no. So let's make it -2. This is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. Okay, -3. Okay, -2. Okay. Now try setting grid column start to a negative value. Grid column start to a negative value. So it is -1, -2. So -2. And grid column start. Wait a minute. Grid column start. Oh, okay, okay. Okay, it covers here one, this one, -2, and -3. Instead of defining grid item, based on the start and the end positions of the grid lines, you can define it based on your desired column width using the span keyword. Keep in mind that span only works for positive values. For example, what are these carrots with the grid column end span to grid hyphen column end span 2. So water grid column start is 2. Grid column start is 2, so start is 1, 2, and grid column end is span 2. From here to span 1, 2. Okay. Try using grid column end with span keyword again to water your carrots. Grid column grid hyphen column hyphen end. So you have to span 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Span 5. Span 5. You can also use span keyword with grid column start. Column start. Grid hyphen column hyphen start. Okay. Column start. Start and span Span, sorry, one, two, three. Grid column and six. Okay, not from here. It's from here. One, two, three. Span. Okay. Grid column and six. One, one, two, three, four, five, or one, two, three, four, five, six. Okay, water is in that position. Try both grid column start, grid column end. Every time can get tiring. Typing both. Okay. Fortunately, grid column is a shorthand property that can accept both values at once, separated by slash. For example, grid hyphen co- column. So here, grid column start is one, two, three, four. So four slash grid column end is one, two, three, four, five, six, six. Try using grid column to water these plants. The span keyword also works with this shorthand. Span keyword also works with this shorthand. Okay. So grid hyphen column. So hmm, span span one, two, three, four, five, five. Okay. Start and end. Okay. So start column. So how can we do it? Span span. Let's say two dash two. But we have to use the span keyword. How can we use span keyword? 4 and 3 like this. Is it okay? Maybe it correct. One of the things that sets CSS grids apart from the flexbox is that you can easily position the items in the two dimensions. You can easily position items in two dimensions. One of the things that sets CSS grids apart from the flexbox is that you can easily position items in two dimensions, column rows. Okay. Grid row start and grid column start. So use grid row start to water carrots. Grid row start. Grid row start from 1, 2, 3. Now give the shortened property. Grid hyphen row. Grid row. mm, Grid row from 1, 2, 3. 3 to span. mm, Grid row 3 to 6. Okay. Use grid column and grid row at the same time to set position in both dimensions. Okay, use grid column and grid row at the same time to set position in both dimensions. Okay, so grid hyphen column column. So column 1, 2, 3. I think it should be 2. Okay, and grid hyphen column. Sorry, grid row. Grid row should be 6. Column is 2. 1, 2, 5. Yeah, it's 5. Grid column. You can also use grid column and grid row together to span larger areas with the grid given in to give it a try. So grid column water from start from 2 and span 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 and grid icon column, sorry, row, grid row from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and row. If typing out both grid column and grid row is too much, okay, first it was grid column start, grid column end, grid row start, grid row end. Now it's grid row, grid column and grid row is too much, then there's yet another shorthand for that. Grid area accepts the four values separated by slashes. Grid row start, grid column start, okay, grid row end, grid column end. Okay, so grid hyphen area. So grid row start. Row starts with 1. Grid row, grid row start is with 1. Okay, and ends with 1, 2, 3. Oh, span. Okay. Span 3. Oh, the second one is grid column start. Okay, so the second one is grid column start. So the grid column starts with 2. Okay, and then grid column end, then sorry, grid row end, then grid column end. So the row ends with 1, 2, 3, 3, and column ends with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5. Mhm. There's something missing. 6. One example. Okay, so grid row start, okay, and grid column start, okay, grid row end 3. So okay, it should be 4. Yeah. How about multiple items? You can overlap them without any trouble. Use grid area to define a second area that covers all the unwanted carrots. It covers all the unwanted carrots. So this grid area, grid hyphen area, grid columns. What is that? Grid row start. So grid row starts with 2. Okay, row starts with 2, 2, and spans also. So sorry. Grid row start, column grid column start, and the column starts at 1, 2, 3, 3. Now grid row end, row column, start and end, grid row end. So grid row ends at 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. And column and set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. If grid items aren't explicitly placed, if grid items aren't explicitly placed with grid area, column, grid row, etc., they are automatically placed according to their order in the source code. Okay. If grid items aren't explicitly placed with the grid area, column, or grid row, they are automatically placed according to their order in the source code. Okay. Grid items. We can override this using the order property, which is one of the advantages of grid over table based layout. By default, all grid items have an order of 0, but this can be set to any positive or negative value similar to z minus z hyphen index. Right now, the carrots in the second column are being poisoned and the weeds in the last column are being watered. Change the order of the poison to fix it right away. So order order 2. Now water and poison are alternating. Even though all the weeds are at the start of your garden, set the order of the poisons to remedy this. So order or at the start. So -2. Up to this point, you have had your garden set up as a grid with 5 columns, each 20% of full width and 5 rows. Up to this point, you had your garden set up as a grid with 5 columns, each 20% of the full width, and 5 rows, each 20% of the full height. Okay. This was done with the rules grid template columns 20%, 20%, 20%, and 20%, 20%. Each rule has 5 values which create the 5 columns, each set to 20% of the overall width of the garden. But you can set the grid up however you like. Give grid template columns a new value to whatever your carrots. You will want to set the width of the first column to be 50%. Okay. So grid hyphen template hyphen template hyphen columns 50%. Okay. Specifying a bunch of columns with identical widths. Specifying bunch of columns with identical widths can be tedious. Luckily, there is a repeat function to help with that. For example, we previously defined 5 20% columns with the rule grid template columns 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%. This can be specified as grid template columns repeat 5, 20%. So, using grid template columns with the repeat function, create 8 columns, each with 12.5% width. This way you won't overwater your garden. Okay. So grid hyphen plate hyphen columns. So repeat and create 8 columns. So 8 and each with 12.5%. 5%. Grid template columns. Repeat 8 comma 12.5%. Grid template columns doesn't just accept values in percentages, but also length units like pixels and EMs. You can even mix different units together. Here, set three columns to 100 pixel, 3 EM, and 40% respectively. Okay, so grid hyphen template hyphen 100 pixel, 3 EM, 40%. Okay, grid template 100 pixel, 3 EM, and 40%. Okay. Grid also introduces a new unit, the fractional FR. Each FR unit allocates one share of the available space. For example, if two elements are set to 1 FR and 3 FR, respectively, space is divided into 4 equal shares. First element occupies 1/4 and the second element occupies 3/4 of any leftover space. Here widths make up to 1/6 of your first row and the carrots the remaining 5/6. Create two columns with this width using FR units. Create two columns. Grid template columns. Mhm. One FR and for and 6 FR 1/4. Okay, 1/4. So point 1/4 is 0.25. So 0.25 for 1/4. 4 Here weights make up 1/6 or 1/6. Okay, it's 1/6. Okay, so 1/6. 1/6. Okay, it's 1 FR and 5 FR. when columns are set with pixels. When columns are set with pixels, percentages or EMs, any other column set with FR will divvy up the space that's left over. When columns are set with pixels, percentages or EMs, any other column set with FR will be divvy. What is divvy? DI, divvy meaning they are divided up to see a divided share. Okay, divided. So when columns are set with pixels, percentages or EMs, any other column set with FR will be divided up by the space that's left over. Okay. Hence, here the carrots from a 50 pixel column on the left form a 50 pixel column on the left, and the widths on the widths a 50 pixel column on the right. Okay, with grid template columns, create these two columns and use FR to make the three more columns that take up remaining space. So okay, so grid hyphen tem, template hyphen columns 50 50 pixel, and then one FR, one FR, one FR, 50 pixel. Next, there is a 75 pixel column of weeds on the left side of your garden. 3 by 5 of the remaining space is growing carrots, while 2 by 5 has been overrun with weeds. Okay, use grid template columns. Grid hyphen plate columns. So 75 pixel is weed. Then 3 by 5 of the remaining space is growing carrots. So 3 FR, and then 2 FR. Next, grid template rows works much the same as grid template columns. Use grid template columns to water all but the 50 pixel of your garden. Note that the water is set to fill only fifth row. Okay, so you need to create 5 rows in total. Okay, so grid hyphen template hyphen rows, so grid rows to water all but 50 pixel of your garden. Okay, okay, so row is 50 pixel, then rest is 1 FR. No. Grid template rows need 5 rows. 5, sorry, 5 FR. Grid template rows works much same as grid template columns. Use grid template rows to water all but top 50 pixels of your garden. Okay. Mhm. Note that. Water is set to fill only your fifth row. Okay. One, one, two, three, four, five, 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 five. So, so here the problem is that use grid template rows to water all but top 50 pixel of your garden. So they are suggesting that these rows, this height, this whole box is of 50 pixel. So one, two, three, four, five. So the half of 50 pixel is 12.5 pixel. So here there are one, two, three, four rows of carrots. So we'll write 12.5 pixel, 12.5 pixel, 12.5 pixel, and 12.5 pixel. So one, two, three, four. Okay. Grid template is a shorthand property that combines grid template rows and grid template columns. Okay. So what was the other shorthand? Grid area. Where is grid area? Okay, for the individual product for the individual element. Okay. Grid column and grid row. Grid column and grid row. For grid column and grid row, it was grid area. Just a minute. One thing easily position the items in two dimensions. Grid row start was much like grid. Yeah, yeah. That's for the individual item. Grid column and grid row is for individual item, and grid area is for combining both. So now here grid template. We have a grid template. So grid template is shorthand property that combines grid template rows and grid template columns. For example, grid template 50% 50% by 200 pixel will create a grid with two rows that are 50% each and one column that is two rows that are 50% each and one column that is 200 pixel wide. Okay. Try using grid template to water an area that includes top 60% and left 200 pixel of your pen. So top 60% and left 200 pixel. Right. Grid template rows and columns. Okay. So 60% of the rows and 200 pixel of your 60% of the column and 200% the row. What if we will do the opposite? 200 pixel 200 px slash 60%. Okay. So 60% now goes to the column. So column is 60%. Okay, that means that 60%. The second side is the template columns. Okay, so 200 pixel and 60%. Your garden is looking great. Here you have left a 50 pixel path at the bottom of your garden and filled the rest with carrots. Unfortunately, left 20% of your carrots have been overrun with weeds. Use CSS Grid one last time to read. So grid mhm, grid area grid area hmm? Hmm. So row starts at 1 and column starts at row starts at 1, column starts at 2 and row ends at row ends at ends at 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5 6 6 and column ends at 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, it's a garden. So the hint is given in the question. So we have to make this much box. So it says the below this section, this 50 pixel. So from here to this one big box, big square is one part, and the below second is the box is the second part. So let's say the second the 50 pixel path is the second part. So let's divide 50 pixel path below and the rest to 1 fr, one fraction. Okay, now the columns, it says the column has left 20%, so we'll say left 20%, and the rest and the rest, this big box is another part, so 1 fr. So this is the solution.